Hey guys, this video is for all of my remote learners. I am going to be going over this Unit 4 reading test. I'm doing it in class with all my kids, so I want to make sure that I made a video going over this test for all of y'all remote learners as well. So the reason I'm going over this test with everyone is because I did curve the test. I took the highest grade from each class period and curved. So there is no corrections for this test, but I want to make sure you understand the passages and the questions and why the right answer is the right answer. So I'm going to start here by just reading the test, reading the first passage. So bike sharing. Have you ever been stuck in a big traffic jam? Have you wanted to yell at drivers who honk their horns as they sit in traffic with nowhere to go? With millions of cars on the road, it's not surprising that there is simply not enough space for all of them. There are just so many cars that can use the same road at the same time. One solution is a bicycle sharing program. Bike sharing is especially popular in big cities where traffic jams are common. In many cities, public transportation helps reduce traffic problems and the air pollution that comes with it, but public transportation is not always convenient. With bike sharing, you can simply pick up a bike at a nearby station, ride it, and lock it up at another station near your destination. Another advantage, save money and get some exercise. Before cars were part of most American households, bicycles were very popular. People rode bikes for fun and recreation. However, they also used bikes to go to and from places of business and for deliveries. After the automobile became more available, bicycles were mostly used by children. Now that it's changing again, bicycles are making a comeback. In big cities where traffic can be frustrating and problematic, public transportation doesn't always fill the gaps. People are finding that bikes are a good way to get around. With the delays caused by traffic and even public transportation, bicycles can get you where you need to go more quickly and efficiently. Bikes haven't always seemed like reasonable alternatives to cars or public transportation where it is available. Although bicycles don't cost nearly as much as cars, they do require some money to purchase. Then there's a question of where to store a bike when not in use. City dwellers don't usually have a garage, and if you're using a bike to get to work, where can you park it securely? With a bike sharing program, storage isn't a problem because you don't own the bike. You merely pay a small fee to use it for a short period of time. Stations are set up at key points in the city. Each station houses multiple bikes, which are stored in a locked bike rack. Depending on the system, users unlock a bike with a credit card or key pass and then they're on their way. Stations are conveniently located, so another station is usually close to the rider's destination. There are mobile apps that show station locations so users can plan their trips easily. As more people use the system, more bikes and stations are added. This in turn attracts more users as it becomes more convenient for their travel plans. One problem with using a bike is safety. City driving can be hazardous for bikers. Automobile drivers are not generally on the lookout for bikes, and crowded streets can block a driver's view of a bike. It is not easy to negotiate city traffic on a bicycle. To address this problem, some cities have begun to install bike lanes. These lanes are blocked off to cars and therefore tend to be safe for bikers. While not every street in all cities has a bike lane, more and more of the major streets have them, and that's where most of the traffic is located. Many of the major American cities now have bike sharing programs. The largest ones are in Miami, New York, Chicago, Boston, and Washington, D.C. These programs are not confined to major cities, and their popularity is growing. A survey of bike sharing cities conducted for the United States Department of Transportation found that bike sharing can prevent emissions and air pollution. Researchers found that bike sharing serves as a way to decrease crowding on public transportation. They also found that bike sharing may move people from one place to another more quickly and directly than buses and trains. This reduces the burden on public transportation and has a positive effect on the environment. While bike sharing is not a perfect solution, the more people who use such programs, the fewer cars will be on the roads, causing traffic jams and polluting the air. There's also a personal benefit. You'll save money on transportation and get some exercise. In paragraph 8, the author supports his claim by providing. So I'm going to go back and look at paragraph 8. So he talks about major American cities. The largest ones are in Miami, New York, Boston. They're not confined to major cities. And a survey conducted showed that the bike sharing can prevent emissions and air pollution. So A says the results of some bike sharing cities. So it says the says there's a survey of bike sharing cities. Statistics about air pollution. So A is a maybe. B, statistics about air pollution. Okay, statistics, remember, y'all, are numbers. There are no numbers in this paragraph, so B is incorrect. C, historical facts about the growth of bicycle use in the United States. It doesn't really talk about generic bicycle use. It's just mostly talking about the bike sharing programs. So I would say C is wrong. And then D, anecdotes of people using bikes to get to work. Remember, anecdote is a story. So there are no stories of people using bikes to get to work. So the right answer here for number 1 is A. 2, which sentence from this selection best refutes critics' concerns about bike safety in traffic? This is a difficult question because it's asking you, so the word refute means to prove wrong. So it's asking you what proves wrong the critics' concerns about bicycle safety. So the critics' concerns about bicycle safety are right here. Okay, so is safety. City driving can be hazardous, and automobile drivers are not on the lookout for bikes. It's not easy to negotiate the traffic. So to address that problem, some cities have begun to install bike lanes. So the critics' concerns is that it's not safe. So how do they prove this? They prove the critics' concerns wrong by talking about the fact that some cities are installing bike lanes. Okay. So that is the correct answer here, which is D. Okay, so the critics' concerns are, A is the critics' concerns. One problem with bike using is, with using a bike is safety. That is what the critics' concerns are. With the bike sharing system, you don't own the bike. That has nothing to do with the critics' concerns about safety. And city driving can be hazardous for bikers, which again, A and C are the critics' concerns. Okay, D is the one where this proves, installing bike lanes proves those critics' concerns wrong by helping the safety of those bikers. Okay, number 3, by the end of the selection, what can the reader conclude about bike sharing? It is a program that helps drivers more than bikers. B, it is a growing program that lacks public support. C, it is a program that can contribute to solving urban problems. Or D, it is a recreational program that helps people get needed exercise. So if you had done your annotations here, you would have found that this is a problem and solution article. Okay, so it gives a problem about the too many drivers on the roads, too much traffic, the pollution, too much crowding on public transportation. Okay, the insufficiencies of public transportation, and then it's giving the solution is, okay, bike sharing is that solution. So our correct answer here is a program that contributes to solving urban problems, C. Okay, it doesn't necessarily help drivers more than bikers. It helps drivers and bikers. It doesn't talk about how it lacks public support at all. And then it does help people get needed exercise, but that's not really the purpose of the program, the purpose of the text right there that they're trying to explain. 4, in which sentence from the selection does the author attempt...
Miss Wilhite, if you're in the building, please come to Miss Short's office.
Sorry, y'all. That's what happens when you work before school or after school. So, number 4, in which sentence from the selection does the author attempt to stir emotions in the reader? So remember, stir emotions is pathos. That's the one that makes you feel something. So A says, have you wanted to yell at drivers who honk their horns as they sit in traffic with nowhere to go? So if you're yelling, do you have a feeling? Yes. Okay, so A is a maybe. People are finding that bikes are a good way to get around. Is there any feeling? What feeling is expressed through that? There's really not any feeling expressed through that. C, city dwellers don't usually have a garage, and if you're using a bike to get to work, where can you park it securely? Again, there's no feeling expressed in that. When you're yelling, you're obviously upset or angry, so there's a feeling expressed in A. And then D, city driving can be hazardous for bikers. Again, maybe hazardous implies some scariness, but the only one in here that would stir up your emotions, would make you feel, would make you connect, is that A, where it talks about yelling. So the correct answer is A. 5, the author included the information in paragraphs 3 through 5, mainly 2. This one's a difficult question. I struggled with it when I took this test too. So number 5 here. It asks you to look at paragraphs 3 through 5. So I'm going to reread them. Before cars were a part of most American households, bicycles were very popular. People rode bikes for fun and recreation. However, they also used bicycles to go to and from places of business and for deliveries. After the automobile became more available, bicycles were mostly used by children. Now that is changing again. Bicycles are making a comeback. In big cities where traffic can be frustrating and problematic, public transportation doesn't always fill the gaps. People are finding that bikes are a good way to get around. With the delays caused by traffic and even public transportation, bicycles can get you to where you need to go more quickly and efficiently. Bikes haven't always seemed like reasonable alternatives to cars or public transportation where it is available. Although bicycles don't cost nearly as much as cars, they do require some money to purchase. Then there's the question of where to store a bike when not in use. City dwellers don't usually have a garage, and if you're using a bike to get to work, where can you park it securely? So that first paragraph there talks about the history, right? Bicycles were ridden for fun and recreation. And then it switches over to why they're used later. They're used for deliveries. Then they were only used by children. But now it's talking about how it's changing. The development is changing again of the use of bicycles to help with that public transportation problem and that traffic problem. Okay, so A, describe the history of bicycling in the U.S. So it talks a little bit about the history, but it doesn't really give you like a breakdown. It talks to you about how people used bikes before and how they're using bikes now. So that's not really the most correct answer. A. That's A. B, show how bicycles have always been popular with children. Again, like that's not the focus of those sections. So you're trying to figure out what's the author's purpose for including those 3 paragraphs. C, address concerns that bicycling can be dangerous. Again, those paragraphs don't really go into the danger of bicycling at all. Or D, show how advances in technology change the way we live. So D right here is the correct answer because it talks about how we used bikes, and then when we got cars, we didn't use bikes. And now that we have public transportation, though, and the traffic, as we increase in technology, as we use the more cars, we're realizing we have to adjust to do better and to have some other alternatives as the technology increases. So right there, the correct answer is D. Okay, so I'm going to split this video into 2. So I will go over the next passage in a little bit, but I'm going to pause this video and we will come back and do the next passage in a little bit. All right, guys, so 1 second.